All right, I'm here with Faizan, the founder of IntakeGenie. Faizan, how you doing today?
Good, Andrew. How are you?
Doing good. Well, congrats on the recent acquisition. I'm excited to hear the story. But before we dive into that, do you want to give just a brief introduction of yourself for those that may not know you?
Sure. So I'll give you a very good background going back. So I come from more of a non-technical background. So I graduated college about 3 years ago. I wanted to go into finance. I wrote for Seeking Alpha, which is like a investment research site. Interned at an investment bank, and then worked in the cryptocurrency space for a while. And then GPT-3 happened. I was kind of like in the middle of reading a 10K filing for like a chemical manufacturer, and I was reading about this lawsuit that involved like PFAS. In the middle, I like stop and I think to myself, I'm like, what am I doing? Right? What am I doing? There's all these technologies out there now where I can learn anything about any niche industry and build something. And instead of charging a percentage, being a middleman, I can actually build something for an industry. So I kind of pivoted from there and learned all the new AI native coding platforms and started building. So yeah, my first platform was EchoSync, which was kind of like a reputation management platform for SMBs. And then that was my first sale on Acquire. And then I kind of like, it was interesting to see that something so native, so pre-revenue could be sold. There's a market for it. So I went into other niche industries, niche verticals, kind of like mapped the workflows, saw existing products and tried to build something similar, but like with one or two better features. And so that's how I sold List Lens, which was a real estate staging tool for real estate agents, and then Clip Notes, which is a podcast researching tool. And then most recently, IntakeGenie, which is a voice agent for law firms. So the key really here is, I guess, taking advantage of this new asset class that is emerging. It is pre-revenue software for small business owners. And, Mark Andreessen talked about software eating the world. I think it's not there yet. The real, in terms of consumers, like consuming, yes, software is eating the world. But in terms of ownership of software, it's not there yet. And I think there's this huge change to come in the future where every small business owner has a software side to their business. I think this is going to be a whole new tradable asset, which Acquire is going to be a beneficiary of. And people like me who kind of build in niche verticals, and then the buyer has a distribution, so they buy from us, and then the ROI is very clear to them because they already have the network and the distribution in the space. So
Nice.
yeah, that's
Nice. This is awesome. So how many sales on Acquire have you gone through? How many acquisitions?
Intake Genie was the fourth one, and I really plan on upping this in the next few months.
Right on. Walk me through like your thought process of finding these ideas and how do you get started? Like if I came to you and said, "Hey, I want to, replicate the success you're having on Acquire," where would I start? Like,
Sure.
do I look at SMB industries or
Sure. So I think I would definitely aim for SMBs, and because you have to look somewhere where the market is kind of like fragmented, the customer base is fragmented, and a lot of the product growth relies on word of mouth. A lot of these SMB products, Bird Eye and Podium, and these folks, they sure they have like very good in-house marketing, but ultimately they're like the well-known players in the industry. It's a lot of like word of mouth stuff. So in this new asset class that's emerging, SMB owners are going to already have that word of mouth kind of like distribution already. So you have to look somewhere where someone can buy the product and leverage their existing network and kind of have that distribution already. They can easily see where their next 10 customers are going to come from. So the key is to go into niche verticals. Could be real estate, could be law firms, could be anything, home services. You have to look at the workflows, look at existing products, and there's a lot of similarities in different industries. A lot of very similar stuff: operations, marketing, sales. It's the same thing everywhere. It's just that the products are different and like the nuts and bolts are different, but the key frameworks are the same in all industries. So you kind of map those out for each industry. Look at existing products out there, look at what they're deficient in, and try to build a better product out there. Something that the potential buyer, let's say it's for home services, someone with, let's say, four plumbing companies around different zip codes will look at it and will immediately realize the value and will immediately see where the next 10 customers will come from. So kind of like putting yourself in the buyer's shoes and really knowing the industry deep down the vertical. And it's really not hard to learn. Like 80-90%, you can be 80-90% there, like as an expert in any industry in weeks now. Like the tools are there. Oh yeah, ask the right questions again and again and again, and you're not going to be right every time. You're going to run into a lot of obstacles, but trial and error is how humans have progressed so far. So the idea is to just bombard AI and the internet with questions about a niche industry until you kind of like get there and understand all flows and understand all products and try to build something that's like one deviation better than the existing thing in the market.
Nice. Then how are you building these platforms? Are you
Native, all the AI native tools. I use Cursor mainly. And I know a lot of people like think these are unstable tools to use, but I would highly recommend that they kind of use the newer models because the performance is really incredible. Like Gemini 3, Cloudy 4.5. I know you might be seeing all those in like on your
Yeah.
XP. So the quality has surpassed all expectations. And really, if you're not using AI native developer tools today, it's more like using shovels instead of excavators. So yeah, very AI native. I try to kind of like plan everything beforehand, like a very detailed PRD before I start working. Figure out what APIs to use, kind of like see what other players are doing, and then find the most efficient way to build the product. And it's really a matter of weeks these days. You don't really have to, building a product. The velocity is very good now. Like you can build something very sophisticated very fast. And then if you have the right controls in place, the right security prompts, the right ways to scaffold everything, you really can build a safe, sophisticated software product much faster today.
nice. And then how are you pricing these? So you're building these with AI, you're spending about, let's call it a couple weeks to a month to build a new product platform.
Yeah.
How are you pricing them? Like, how do you come to evaluation?
So it really, this is a new market. So it's a lot of it is just discovery, just to see what the market kind of like test the market. So it's my products have sold anywhere from like 1,000 to like 12,000. So it really depends on what the market wants. So I try to price these at like the now it, I guess because the market is kind of saturated, a lot of new software products coming out around like the 6 to 7,000 range, and see if there's demand from the market. If there's interest, I keep it there. If there's not much interest, I kind of like reduce the price. But I would recommend kind of like holding like a kind of like a high watermark, and like for a month at least maintain that and see what the uh, uh what the interest is like.
Nice.
Mhm.
So walk me through how the acquisitions usually go.
Sure. So usually I get like, around 10 to 15 NDAs per listing. And usually there's one or two buyers who are very interested and they really want to make it fast. And I guess that's the beauty of acquires, like really connects like the right buyer to the right product. And then so usually the one or two interested buyers want to move very fast. And so you just work with them. And, the good thing about the AI native apps that I build is that transferability is a matter of like, I can do that in an hour, basically changing hands. So very fast process. I guess the only bottleneck would be the workflow with escrow.com. I think escrow is a bit overkill for microtransactions, but I get it that you have to have safety measures in place and make sure everything is like whatever is agreed upon is transferred, and then the price is right and the broker gets paid and everything. So yeah, it's a matter of weeks basically, like from the interest to the acquisition process.
Nice. And do you do anything in preparation of the acquisition? Like, do you put together a document that outlines all the assets and services?
Absolutely.
Do you
So
think through like, second question is, do you think through like a transition plan where you'll build out new features or anything like that?
sure. So what I do after I finish up with the code base is I had the AI kind of like build me a handover document that kind of like goes through everything from like the APIs that need to be exchanged, the keys that need to be exchanged, the accounts that need to be transferred. So everything is kind of like set in paper. And during the first one or two calls, I kind of like conversate with the buyer about how to kind of like what new features can be added and how to distribute the product potentially and stuff like that. So yeah, preparation really is usually the buyer knows what to do with it. The interested buyers know, like they have a game plan in their head, like what they're gonna do after. So they just want things transferred right away is how it is.
Nice. What does due diligence look like for these small pre-revenue apps? Like, I have to assume it's probably quicker than say if there's a lot of Stripe invoices and stuff like that. Are you just
Really.
kind of making sure the product works and transferring it over?
Exactly. So it's like a very sophisticated demo to them to make sure that every button works, every single feature works, go through the whole platform with them. And then they get to use it with a free account, kind of test out everything. And once they're kind of like uh, satisfied with every feature, that's all they want. There's no verification for customers. There's nothing else. They basically they're more concerned about functionality. Buyers are more concerned about what the infrastructure costs are to run these things, which are pretty low. Even for AI native apps, with the services like Vercel and Supabase, it costs like 20-30 bucks a month to run these things. So that's pretty much all the buyer is looking for. There's not much, because there are no customers. There is no deep due diligence.
Yeah. Nice. And then on the calls where buyers are interested, are you just walking through the product and showing why it's awesome, how it works, stuff like that?
Exactly. So just walking them through the platform. And when they ask me why, the biggest question is, why are you selling, right? If this is such a good product, why are you selling? So my answer usually is, and usually the buyer is like in the industry and they have all their distribution figured out. So I'm like, hey, like I'm not in home services. I do not have like 25 people that I can probably like convert 50% of them into users. You have that. I have my building capabilities. You have distribution. So we're like connecting that way. So yeah, that's usually the talk.
Nice. Any tips when going through negotiations or getting buyers generally interested, or is it predominantly driven by the quality of the product?
I think primarily the quality of the product. But in terms of negotiation, I would say don't be afraid to put in a counteroffer, especially if the product is good and if there isn't anything available on the market that's similar. Because usually the buyer the interested buyer usually wants exactly what you have. So you have somewhat of an upper hand there. So I would say do not be shy from doing counteroffers.
Nice. That's great advice. If a founder came to you and they were looking to sell a similar business, what's like, you've given a ton of advice, but what's like the top two things you recommend to them?
Sure. I think number one would be putting yourself in the buyer's shoes and kind of like kind of like a game of poker, right? You try to figure out what their hand is, what their move is, and feed in their confirmation and give them the confirmation that they need in terms of like how they're going to distribute the product and any kind of like questions about bugs and stuff like that. Be willing to kind of like make that clear that the product is turnkey if you're building something pre-revenue and turnkey. And yeah, just that would be my advice, is like put yourself in the buyer's shoes.
Nice. And then I guess my last question on the acquisition is, what does the timeline usually look like?
Yeah, so the fastest one was IntakeGenie. It took 2 weeks, literally, like from listing to like the escrow in the funds transferring in my account. It took 2 weeks. But I would say expect 2 weeks for everything, because sometimes you would get your interested buyer in a week or two. Sometimes it would take maybe 2 months. So it really depends. But usually the pattern that I see is 15 NDAs and then one, two, three very, very interested buyers who would want to move very fast.
Nice. Well, congrats on all the acquisitions, man. This is super just awesome to hear and impressive. I gotta ask, what are you building next? What's next for you?
So I'm working on one big project that I don't want to put on Acquire right away. This is kind of like a long-term play. It's an AI governance platform for enterprises. So a lot of these enterprises are deploying agents and like third-party AI vendors, and like a lot of compliance violations are happening every day. And these can cost them in the future. Right now, the government is very lenient on AI, right? You have David Sachs in the White House. So things are easy, but down the line, compliance violations could be a huge issue with agentic use in enterprises. So I'm kind of trying to build a AI firewall around enterprises that kind of controls everything that goes into an LLM and out of an LLM and kind of prevent data leakages and compliance violations. So that's a bigger project at play. I have a co-founder for that. But in terms of Acquire, the next product is actually a voice agent for restaurants that takes in orders and does reservations and hopefully connects to OpenTable and some of the bigger platforms out there.
Nice. Right on. Well, excited to see the next acquisitions
Sure.
from you, and hopefully we can get, a seven-figure one in the near future.
Absolutely. That's the goal. That's the goal.
And then for those that want to keep following your journey online, where can they find you?
Sure. You can find me on X. My username's a little tough, but I can, I guess, send it over to you and you can maybe put it down.
You'll put it in the show notes.
And then I'm active on LinkedIn and X primarily.
Right on. Well, Faizan, congrats again on the acquisitions. Thanks for coming on the podcast, and excited to see you keep building.
Thank you, Andrew. Really appreciate it. Looking forward to many more acquisitions, hopefully, in the future.
Sounds good. Cheers.
Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.